This is The Top, where I interview entrepreneurs who are number one or number two in their industry in terms of revenue or customer base. You'll learn how much revenue they're making, what their marketing funnel looks like, and how many customers they have.
I'm now at $20,000 per talk.
5 and 6 million.
He is hell-bent on global domination. We just broke our 100,000 units sold mark.
And I'm your host, Nathan Latka.
Okay, Top Tribe, this week's winner of the $100 is Jose Avila. He is a 17-year-old that doesn't want to go to college and he wants to start his own business. For your chance to win $100 just like Jose every Monday morning, simply subscribe to this podcast on iTunes right now and then text the word Nathan to 33444 to prove that you did it. Top Tribe, you know I don't have a lot of time to waste. That's why I use FreshBooks to send out invoices and make sure I'm collecting my money. To get your free month, go to nathanlatka.com/FreshBooks and enter The Top in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Nathan Latka here. This is episode 605, and coming up tomorrow morning, we hear from 41-year-old CEO of Hornet, Christoph Wittig. They've raised $8 million to become the gay content hub. They've passed 17 million users and 3 million monthly active users, doing well over $700,000 in monthly recurring revenue. So how do you get an app that big, and how do you monetize it? Tune in to find out. Good morning, everybody. Nathan Latka here. Our guest this morning is Chris Golek. He is the CEO and founder of Demandbase. Now, Chris is an entrepreneur who, prior to starting Demandbase, founded one of the first successful business-to-business software and data solutions in the late 90s called SupplyBase. You may have heard of it. With previous positions at GE, GM, and DuPont, Chris has used his wealth of experience to position Demandbase as one of the most rapidly expanding B2B marketing companies in the space. Chris, are you ready to take us to the top?
I am ready.
Good. So if you had to sum up kind of Demandbase in 2 sentences, tell us what it does and your business model. How do you make money?
Sure. So Demandbase is a marketing technology company, and we're dedicated to the business-to-business marketer, helping them online bring the right companies they want to sell to their website through an advertising platform. We help them better personalize the experience on their website with our technology, and then turn that activity into sales for the sales team. So it's dedicated, again, to B2B, where most marketing technology companies have been focused more on consumer-type marketing processes. And we make money by selling subscriptions to our customers, who are predominantly, mid-market, large enterprises, ranging across a variety of verticals, from high-tech companies, telecom, manufacturers, healthcare, large banks.
And you really got the inside scoop on this, right? When you're at GE and GM and you kind of see the needs they have from an internal perspective, right? Before you go out and build Demandbase.
Yeah, absolutely. Every role I've been in has been around kind of businesses collaborating with other businesses, and having been a sales manager and a salesperson, just saw, the underinvestment that's been done on the marketing side relative to what sales teams need.
And then to avoid, I want to learn more about the kind of the full story, but to avoid getting too deep into cohort by cohort analysis, which I'm sure you do a ton of, if you just had to average kind of customer size in terms of what they pay you per month, what is the average?
Yeah, so our average customer is spending about $220,000 per year, or about $20,000 per month.
Yep.
Now that said, some customers will start, $2,000 to $3,000 per month, but 2 years later they may be spending a lot more because they have success and they want to expand to some of our other solutions.
And Chris, just quickly, you raised capital, correct? How much have you raised to date?
We've raised $90 million to date.
Now, guys, I'm cheaply making Chris obviously knew that number, having him say that, because I want you to really dive into this episode. You guys know I do a lot of B2B SaaS stuff. I've had over, I think, 250 CEOs that have directly told me they're in the B2B SaaS space, and we're always talking about ARPU, CAC, LTV, et cetera. So things we want to focus on with Chris that you'll hear over the next 10 minutes, first, more about what Demandbase does, kind of their product positioning, where he thinks the market's going, but we'll also learn from him in terms of things he's doing to drive expansion ARPU, what levers is he pulling from a seat basis or a product basis, how the team is structured in terms of inside sales versus outbound sales, etc. And then again, where he sees Demandbase going over time. So Chris, take us back to the start. What year did you launch the company in?
2007. So we're just coming up on our 10th anniversary.
2007. And maybe I'm giving you too much credit here, but maybe not. I mean, did you invent B2B SaaS?
No, I wouldn't say invented it. B2B has been around for a long time. I would even say, within B2B, the account-based marketing category has been done for years and years. The technology just wasn't there to do it at scale. And so we started really pushing the account-based marketing category probably 4 or 5 years ago before anybody had really heard about it.
And Chris, tell folks what that means. What does account-based marketing mean?
It really means about really laser targeting the accounts with marketing programs and spend around the accounts that your sales team should and are selling to versus, mass blast campaigns. It's really about targeting everything you're doing from advertising to site personalization to the companies that your sales team is focused on.
Now, was SupplyBase a SaaS company? Obviously, it was B2B, but was it a SaaS business model?
Back in the day, it was called an ASP model, but essentially it was a subscription.
What's ASP mean?
What's that?
Is that average selling point? What's ASP mean?
Oh gosh, what did that stand for? It was good question. You have to take me back 20 years, but it was more on the supply chain space, and we sold into manufacturing companies.
Okay, and what did you take us back to? I want to get in your head in terms of the decision you made to go from whatever you're doing right before Demandbase to jumping in as an entrepreneur again, because you've already had a lot of success. What were you doing right before Demandbase?
I was good question. I was actually consulting with a lot of startup companies, helping them essentially reverse engineer their revenue plan and have it detail out what does the marketing team need to be producing in order to hit the revenue plan. And it was more of a consulting business. And one of the things that every company was struggling with is their revenue plan was at risk simply because the marketing team wasn't generating the right opportunities. And so I just saw this huge opportunity for technology to kind of take over and really eliminate a lot of the revenue risk that existed in these projections and operating models.
Wait, Chris, tell me real quick about that red flag. So when you look at it, you get a new consulting client, you see their revenue target, you see what they're doing on the marketing side. What ratio or what numbers are you looking at that help you determine whether there's a red flag or not, whether their revenue plan's in jeopardy?
It's really the measurements behind the marketing team versus the sales team. The sales team is measured on revenue and opportunities at the companies they want to sell to. They're selling to accounts. A lot of companies still have their marketing team measured on leads and MQLs, and there's no measurement of quality.
That's marketing qualified lead, guys.
Yeah. The sales team doesn't care about MQLs. That's why they don't follow up on half of them, because the leads are from the wrong companies, meaning companies are too small, they're in the wrong industries. So there's this huge misalignment between sales and marketing, and that all gets fixed with account-based marketing. Got it. Good. Okay. Which is this? I mean, so you look, I think this is an interesting trend. And Chris, I think work with a lot of entrepreneurs, but there are so many that start off as small agencies that have a lot of consulting clients that they see, then they go, oh my gosh, I'm doing the same thing for all these different, consulting clients. Maybe I should build a software to help me solve this at scale. Was that the pattern you generally followed? Yeah, I did, but I had the previous experience of building a software company. And I do think a lot of consulting firms that try and go into software really struggle because it's a totally different effort in terms of building a company and getting it financed and hiring their team. There's just a lot more risk involved in building a software company that you hope is going to generate revenue versus selling hours in a consulting type of model. So you launched in 2007. Make us laugh real quick, Chris. What was your first year revenue? Oh, it was actually probably pretty good. It was probably a few $100,000 because we were selling. The first product we had rolled out is selling business contacts to people so that they could create much more targeted lists to the companies they wanted to sell to. Are these like the Mattermark, CB Insights, Full Contacts, Clearbits of today? Yeah. So back in 2007 and before, it used to be that you had to buy a list of 10,000 names at a time. Uh-huh. And so what we said is, well, let's break that model apart. Let's let people buy one at a time, and they could build their own kind of custom lists that were much more targeted and And that worked very well, except the problem was people would buy one at a time, right? So it didn't scale as well. And then, it was just the business contact space has become pretty commoditized, and that wasn't the vision for the company. It was a starting point.
So let's continue forward here. When did you rate, what year? So 2007 you launched, did the round, call it 300,000 or a couple 100,000 in year one revenue. When did you decide to raise your first round of capital, and how much was it for?
It was $2.5 million, and it was in 2007, and it was an investment by Altos Ventures and Adobe Systems, actually. Both participated.
And did convertible notes exist back then, or was that an equity round?
There was an equity round. I had done a little angel round that was actually a convertible note 6 months prior.
And so is there a different lever or mechanism you're ticking in your head where you say, okay, I'm going in, I'm either going to bootstrap this thing or, I'm going to go the funding route. And the funding route's very different. Talk us through that lever, because there's a lot of my listeners that are going through that same kind of lever moving process, deciding, okay, do I turn my brain into, hey, let's fund this thing and go big, or do I just keep, producing 200 grand in cash per year for myself?
Yeah, that's a strategic thing that every founder's got to really come to grips with. Is this going to be a lifestyle business that I want to build and grow and be with for a long time, or do I want to generate a 10x return and really scale this thing and go for it? Obviously, a higher risk model. It's not easy raising money. I mean, people read about it in the media a lot that so and so one got $30 million. For every one of those, there's 200 companies that don't get funded.
Yep.
That go out and do it. So you got to have, number one, the experience. You got to have probably 500,000 to $1 million in revenue already.
An ARR.
Big market. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's the hurdle gets higher and higher.
Yep. And then, so let's fast forward. So 2007 is obviously start. Let's fast forward to today. So how many customers have you scaled to? How many are you working with today, Q1 2017?
We have about 400 customers. We're selling to larger entities, of course. So this is not a SMB, tens of thousands of customer type of model.
Yeah, no, it's $20,000 ARPU. I mean, yeah, that's big.
Yeah.
And so can I generally do the math? 400 customers times $20,000 a month on average. You're doing somewhere around 8 million per month.
Yeah, it's not too far off of that. We'll be above probably 100 million this year.
Oh, great.
As we exit.
Big number. And teach us about your team makeup. So what's the total team size, and then what percentage are inside sales folks?
Oh gosh. So company is just under 250 people. We really, even our mid-market team, although they're inside, they go out and visit customers. Companies just generally don't buy from other companies for $100,000 without seeing somebody in person at one time or the other.
Yep. Are these all annual contracts you're signing? There's no monthly option?
No, it's all annual contracts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that, go ahead.
No, so we have a team of probably 50 quota carrying reps total between inside, outside, across the country.
Chris, you cut out there, sorry. Of the 250, how many are reps?
There's probably 50 quota carrying reps.
Okay, got it.
Total.
Okay, good. And then take us to some of the other economics you're looking at. So one of the reasons obviously people do annual, it really helps manage churn. What's kind of like your gross annual churn? And the second question is I imagine you've probably hit net negative revenue churn from expansion kind of activities, right?
Yeah. So we don't share publicly a ton of the data, but I'll give you the high level. We're at about 110% net dollar retention.
Got it.
And so the way I explain that for some of the listeners, even if we don't add a customer this year, we'll still grow 10% next year. It's kind of the best way I share with employees.
Do you segment your sales team? Do you have a team specifically dedicated to expansion activities on the current base versus getting new folks, or no?
No, it's kind of depending on the size of the client, it's shared between customer success and the field team. And, now we have some customers that are spending $2 million per year, and they'll have a dedicated strategic team focused on them.
At what point do you put a dedicated strategic team on someone? More than $1 million annually?
Yeah, and what the potential is at that account.
Interesting. Okay, so just to make sure, the customer success folks are the folks really responsible for expansion revenue, not the initial sales rep that closed the deal.
That's correct, unless it's a strategic account.
Interesting. Okay, very cool. And then last few questions here before we wrap up. What's it cost you what do you spend to acquire a new customer?
Oh gosh, I don't have the dollar amount, but our payback is less than we're definitely less than 12 months from now.
Got it. So your kind of average annual contract value, which is I think you said was $240K, more than covers your cost to acquire. Well,
no, that's wrong, because that's our average customer that's been with us for a couple years. You think of the initial deal size is much smaller than that.
Okay, like how much small? Like are you talking 20 grand a year, 50 grand?
Yeah, between 50 and 100.
Okay, got it.
Depending on the companies.
Very cool. Good. And then where are you guys based?
We're headquartered in San Francisco with offices in New York, Seattle, and the UK.
Okay, Top Tribe, as many of you know, I sold Heyo, and everyone is always asking me what my expenses were when I was building Heyo. Well, a big expense was that I spent over $3,000 per month on financial services to keep me out of trouble in terms of taxes. My mom would always harbor me, Nathan, you gotta keep all your receipts and put them in a freaking box or something to make sure you don't get an audit or things like this. I'm like, Mom, I'm a millennial. You think I'm gonna keep all these receipts? I now use FreshBooks. I use their mobile app to take a picture of receipts, and it makes taxes a cinch. Additionally, I don't have to hire a $3,000 per month person to manage all my finances. It's like saving so much money, and my mom's happy. Additionally, I don't waste a bunch of time creating invoices. I use their templates, and I can avoid using Word templates or Excel files. I just use FreshBooks to quickly send out invoices, and it works like a charm. To get your free first month, go to nathanlatka.com/FreshBooks and enter the top in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Again, go to nathanlatka.com/FreshBooks and enter the top in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Very cool. All right, there you guys have it from Chris. Chris, let's wrap up here quickly with the famous 5. Number 1, what's your favorite business book?
Oh, gosh. You caught me by surprise.
Don't make one up if you don't have one. I get it. You're busy. If you don't read, I understand.
Yeah, no, I don't have one off the top of my head. Sorry.
No, it's funny. I ask that sometimes, and you hear people like shuffling their books around trying to find one that would sound good, but don't make it up. Good. So no reading. Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying right now?
No, not off the top of my head. No, that I've always, I used to actually work for Jeff Immelt at GE. I've always really liked him as a person and thought he's been a great leader. But I'm not currently following him.
Anyone else you really, besides yourself, obviously you have one of the, I would say, larger B2B SaaS companies. That's private. You're private, right?
We are.
Yeah. Who else do you respect that's kind of B2B SaaS and still private?
I've always really admired the DocuSign business. They're going through a CEO change right now, but it's been an incredible business. They went through some flat growth years, and they've just continued to skyrocket now in their later stage, and they're well positioned for an IPO here in the coming year or years.
Yeah, very good. Number 3, is there, besides your own, is there a favorite online tool you have, like Acuity Scheduling?
Favorite online tool? Other than obviously Amazon for shopping, it's nothing comes to mind.
That's okay. All right. And Skype. Good. And last 2 questions here. Yes or no? Do you get 8 hours of sleep every night?
No.
And what's your situation? Married, single, you have kids?
Divorced. But I do have kids.
How many kiddos?
2.
All right. See, guys, it's possible. You can have kids and still launch a company and have success. Chris, how old are you?
51.
All right, last question. Take us back 31 years. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
My 20-year-old self knew?
Yep.
Go for it sooner. How about that?
Top Tribe. There you have it from Chris Golek, CEO and founder of Demandbase. Go for it sooner. They're on a tear. They raised $90 million. Started in 2007. Raised a total again of $90 million. 2.5 that first year. Did about $300,000 or a couple $100,000 that first year one revenue. Based between San Francisco, other locations with their team of 250 folks, really inventing and hyper-focusing on account-based marketing with their tool. Average revenue per customer per month, somewhere around $20K. They'll do over $100 million this year. That's the target, at least 110% net dollar retention annually. Chris, thank you for coaching us up and taking us to the top.
Thank you, Nathan.
If you enjoyed today's episode with Chris, go back and listen to yesterday's episode with Andy Lurling of Lumo Accelerator, which invested $150,000 in a company called Vree, which gives you a full-body virtual reality experience. It's truly the future. Top Tribe, I love giving away free money. I feel like Oprah giving away cars, and I have something special for you today. How many of you have heard our super sharp guests talk about success they've had with Facebook and Google ads? Well, all of you listening right now, yes, if you're listening, you get $100 in free AdWords. Here's how you get it, okay? Again, thanks for listening. Get the free $100 from Google, right, when you sign up with my website host provider, HostGator. Go sign up now to get your free money. HostGator.com/Nathan. Again, that's HostGator.com/Nathan. Okay, Top Tribe, I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning. And don't forget, before you listen to any other episodes, subscribe on iTunes right now for your chance to win $100 every Monday.